For over 5,000 years, one body of water has been a cradle of civilization, a battleground for empires, and a lifeblood of global trade. This is the story of the Persian Gulf, a name that echoes through history from the clay tablets of Mesopotamia to the digital tickers of today's stock markets. Its story is not just one of sand and sea, but of humanity itself, our ambition, our ingenuity, and our unceasing quest for connection and control. Join us as we journey through time exploring how this strategic waterway has shaped our world in ways you might never have imagined. Our story begins in the dawn of civilization in the fertile lands nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Here, the world's first cities rose from the dust, and the people of Mesopotamia looked south to the shimmering waters of the Gulf of them. It was a gateway to the unknown, a source of pearls, and a divine highway. They built reed boats, coated in bitumen, and dared to sail its currents, trading grain and textiles for the copper of Magan, what we now know as Oman. And the exotic carnelian beads of the industry, the Valley of the Gulf, was the world's first maritime trade network linking cultures and creating wealth on an unprecedented scale. Ancient tablets from Sumer and Akkad speak of these voyages of bustling ports like Dilmun, modern-day Bahrain, a sacred and prosperous island that served as the central hub for this thriving Bronze Age economy. This wasn't just commerce, it was the birth of globalization centuries past, and new powers rose to dominate the region. The Achaemenid Empire, the first Persian empire, unified a vast territory under rulers like Cyrus and Darius the Great for them. The Gulf was a strategic southern frontier and a vital artery for their empire. Darius, a visionary administrator, commissioned the Greek explorer Scylax to chart the course from the Indus River to the Gulf and all the way to Egypt. He understood that controlling these waters meant controlling the flow of goods and information. Persian triremes, powerful warships, patrolled the coastlines, protecting trade routes from piracy and asserting Persian dominance. The wealth of India, Arabia, and Africa flowed into the heart of the empire, funding magnificent cities like Persepolis and Susa. The Gulf was no longer just a trade route, it had become an instrument of imperial power. But no empire lasts forever. The arrival of Alexander the Great shattered the Persian dominion. After conquering the known world, Alexander and his generals recognized the Gulf's immense strategic value as admiral. Nearchus led a daring expedition, retracing the ancient sea lanes from the Indus Delta back to the mouth of the Euphrates. His detailed logs provided the Greek world with its first comprehensive understanding of this vital waterway. Alexander himself envisioned a new world order, one where Greek and Persian cultures would merge, facilitated by maritime trade. He planned to establish new cities along the Gulf shores, turning it into a Hellenistic lake. Though his early death cut these grand ambitions short, the knowledge his expeditions gathered opened the Gulf to the west, setting the stage for centuries of interaction between Europe and the East. Following the collapse of Alexander's empire and the subsequent rise and fall of others, a new force emerged from the Arabian Peninsula, Islam. The 7th century marked a profound transformation. The Islamic Caliphates unified the region under a common faith language and legal system, ushering in a golden age of science, culture, and commerce. The Persian Gulf became the vibrant heart of the Islamic world's economy. Port cities like Siraf and Hormuz became legendary centers of wealth. Their markets overflowing with silks from China, spices from the Indies, and ivory from Africa. Arab and Persian dhows, with their distinctive lateen sails, crisscrossed the Indian Ocean, guided by the stars and the newly invented astrolabe. This was a world of incredible intellectual ferment, where merchants were also scholars, and trade routes carried not just goods, but ideas of mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The tales of Sinbad the Sailor, though fictional, capture the spirit of this adventurous age, a time when the Gulf was the world's most dynamic hub of exchange and prosperity. However, would not go unnoticed. By the early 16th century, a new flag appeared on the horizon. Vasco da Gama's voyage around Africa had opened a direct sea route for European powers, and the Portuguese were the first to arrive in force, seeking to control the lucrative spice trade. They used their superior naval firepower to seize key ports, including the strategic choke point of Hormuz. For over a century, they dominated the Gulf, building fortresses whose ruins still stand today, imposing taxes and redirecting the flow of wealth towards Lisbon. Their arrival marked a seismic shift. The old, land-based empires were now challenged by new sea-based powers from Europe. Following the Portuguese came the Dutch, the French, and ultimately the British. The Gulf became a chessboard for European rivalries with local sheiks and emirs forced to navigate complex alliances to preserve their autonomy. The 19th century saw the consolidation of British power. Through a series of treaties known as the General Maritime Treaty, Britain established itself as a protector of the Gulf chiefdoms, ostensibly to suppress piracy, but in reality to secure the sea route to its most prized possession. India, the Royal Navy, patrolled the waters, and British political agents were stationed in the coastal towns, advising local rulers and ensuring that British interests were paramount. For a time, the region was known as the British Lake. The traditional industries of pearling and trade continued, but the political landscape had been irrevocably altered. The Gulf was now integrated into a global empire, its destiny tied to the whims of a distant European capital. This era of relative stability, known as the Pax Britannica, set the stage for the most dramatic transformation in the Gulf's long history. In the 1930s, geologists from Britain and America began exploring the desert sands, and what they found would change the world forever. They didn't find gold or diamonds, but a thick, black liquid petroleum. The discovery of oil was like a lightning strike. The first commercial wells in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait unleashed a torrent of wealth that dwarfed anything the spice or pearl trades had ever produced. The quiet coastal sheikdoms were suddenly thrust onto the world stage, their vast reserves becoming essential for the industrialized world's insatiable appetite for energy. The post-World War II era saw an explosion of development desert landscapes were transformed seemingly overnight into sprawling modern cities, with gleaming skyscrapers, superhighways, and state-of-the-art airports. The traditional dhow was replaced by the supertanker colossal vessels, carrying millions of barrels of crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical energy choke point. The age of oil had arrived, and the Persian Gulf was its epicenter today. The Gulf remains as vital as ever as a region of startling contrast, where ancient traditions coexist with hypermodernity. The wealth generated by oil and natural gas has funded incredible feats of engineering and created societies with some of the highest standards of living on Earth yet. This incredible resource has also made the region a focal point of geopolitical competition. The strategic importance of its waterways means that global powers continue to watch it with intense interest. Their naval fleets patrolling the same waters once sailed by Sumerian reed boats and Persian triremes. From the first traders of Dilmun to the tanker captains of today, the Persian Gulf has been a constant in the story of human civilization. It has been a stage for the rise and fall of empires, a conduit for faith and ideas, and an engine of the global economy. Its waters have witnessed 5,000 years of ambition, conflict, and innovation. As we look to a future beyond oil, one thing is certain: this historic waterway, this crossroads of the world, will continue to shape our collective destiny for millennia to come. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey through history fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that connect our past to our present.